We begin with the continuing tragedy in Kenya, where Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta has addressed the Kenyan nation for the second time as the siege of Westgate Mall in Nairobi continues. It is now been over 30 hours since militant group Al-Shabaab stormed the shopping center. At least 59 people have been killed, over 175 injured. The Al-Shabaab terror network says the attack is in response to Kenya's military intervention in Somalia. They have demanded that Kenya pulls out. Now, while 10 to 15 armed terrorists are thought to remain in the building, President Kenyatta addressed the media earlier on Sunday saying pulling out of Somalia is not an option.
Teams from the Kenya Defense Forces have supplemented the intervention. The criminals are now located in one place within the building. With the professionals on site, I assure Kenyans that we have as good a chance to successfully neutralize the terrorists as we can hope for. Let us allow them the space and time to do their best. I want to be very clear and categorical. We shall not relent on the war on terror. We will continue that fight, and we urge all people of goodwill throughout the world to join us and to ensure that we uproot this evil. So if their thought is that this was to intimidate us, it has only increased our commitment to fight and win this war.
And in a show of unity, also present at the international press briefing was former Kenya's Prime Minister Raila Odinga. He has urged the international community to support Kenya at this time.
We therefore want it to be treated as an isolated incident by terrorists as such, and allow Kenyans to continue with their economy in a normal way. Don't take any kind of actions which will disrupt the Kenyan economy.
Meanwhile, Kenya's capital Nairobi remains on high alert with security tightened across the city. CCTV's Famida Miller reports.
It may look like a normal Sunday here in Nairobi, but it certainly doesn't feel like one. People here going about their daily business say they don't feel safe and they're worried about more attacks. Several other shopping centers in Nairobi were immediately evacuated and shut when Westgate was raided by gunmen on Saturday. Some shopping malls have now reopened with more security personnel deployed, carefully searching all visitors and their vehicles.
We have also tightened security in all shopping malls around the city and alerted other major towns which are prone to possible attacks.
Despite this, many in Nairobi say they feel uneasy.
Yeah, I'm very worried, and we feel very insecure because I've gone to places like the supermarkets. Nakumatt is all closed. I went even to a bank and I couldn't get money, it's closed.
I feel a little bit nervous, and that just in light of everything that's going on. But at the same time, it's my last day in Nairobi, and I'm sort of trying to, like we discussed, carry on as normal.
Taxi driver Stephen Maina says he's nervous working just across the road from a popular shopping center.
We are worried because when something like this happens, businesses are affected, and as a Kenyan, you are affected.
As Westgate Mall remains cordoned off and declared a security zone, Kenya remains on alert. Famida Miller, CCTV, Nairobi.
Well, Muslim leaders in Kenya have condemned the attack at the Westgate shopping complex in the country's capital as they call for calm and unity among Kenyans at this hour. The leaders, led by Aidan Washu, the Supreme Council of Kenyan Muslim Secretary General, said the indiscriminate attack on innocent people goes against the teachings and tenets of Islam. Now, while expressing their shock and anger at the killings, they called on Kenyans not to view the attack as any kind of sectarian violence. The leaders say these are purely acts of terrorism and not religion. The Muslim leaders also called on the authorities to carry out any investigations into the attack within the confines of the law and at the same time refrain from any blanket victimization of the Muslim faithful.
we as Muslim leaderships and Muslims in general reiterate that wanton and indiscriminate killing of innocent men, women, and children is against all Islamic teachings and tenets. We call upon all Kenyans to remain calm at these most trying moments in our history and refrain from being divided on sectarian grounds by this unfortunate incident.
We have reiterated to the leadership of this country that we do hope that any actions that will subsequent to the attack will not be actions of blanket victimization of the Muslim community. Wherever there is justifiable cause or reasonable cause within the law, we support those reasonable causes within the law to take effect.
Well, the hostage crisis continues in Nairobi's capital. Well, let's get the very latest now from CCTV's Robert Nagila, who's standing by at the Westgate Shopping Mall. We'll also be joined by Simiyu Werunga, the Director, African Center for Security. Welcome to Africa Live. Robert, give us the latest on the number of casualties and the situation on the ground at the moment.
Oh, thank you. Just earlier today, there was an announcement by the Interior Ministry giving the latest death toll figures as 59. Now, last night, that figure was 39, but like we said, we expected it to go up. Now, that figure has gone to 59. We still do expect it to go up because, according to our sources on the ground behind us, there are still borders inside the mall itself. Now, apart from that, we have figures of 175 people injured. Most of them, we're told, were treated and released. There are still some in serious condition, while others doctors describe as stable.
Robert, we've been told that the death toll still stands there at 59, but we understand that security forces have managed to secure parts of that building. What's come out of that?
Well, here's what we know at the moment. From early this morning, there were reports from authorities that the second floor and first floor had already been secured. Now, the ground floor, this is where the attackers are believed to be, had yet to be secured. However, authorities said that they had contained them in a section of that ground floor believed to be the supermarket, that is Nakumatt. Now, the basement, we did not receive any concrete information on the basement as to whether it had been secured or not secured as yet. However, early this afternoon, this was just immediately after the president had spoken to address the nation, we saw increased activity behind us, about 300 meters from where we're standing at the moment. There were choppers buzzing much lower than what we witnessed yesterday, perhaps a sign of something taking place at the mall itself. However, we've been unable to confirm. There was a very large explosion a while ago as well, which was heard by people here, and some reports of gunshots as well. However, at this particular position where we are, it's been very difficult to confirm some of the information that we're getting, and I'm afraid we'll just have to wait for the official line from the government itself. However, like I said, there's been increased activity all afternoon. However, it's quieting down now. The choppers that were buzzing us in the afternoon have all gone away, and we're now waiting to see what comes out of the increased activity that we witnessed early this afternoon. However, Reuters, for example, is reporting that there are Israeli advisors assisting the Kenyan military. Now, the president, Uhuru Kenyatta, had made it clear that this is a Kenyan operation. There were reports that there had been attempts to seek a settlement through negotiations. We saw that through a tweet from Al-Shabaab itself. However, the president has said that if this has something to do with Kenya's presence in Somalia, there's no negotiations on that point. Basically shutting the door on any negotiations that would have taken place if at all both parties had agreed. Beatrice?
All right, indeed. For the moment, President Uhuru Kenyatta has said it remains a Kenyan security situation with Kenyan security forces. Robert Nagila there joining us from the Nairobi Westgate Shopping Mall. Thank you. Well, Mr. Simiyu Werunga joining us now. 2 days on, the hostage crisis continues, the siege continues. This is slightly different from what we have witnessed in the past. Are we seeing a sort of change of tack there from the Al-Shabaab, who have so far claimed responsibility for this situation?
Yes, I think we noticed that this is the first time they are entering this arena of hostage taking. I think the idea is they came in and they are not expecting, that is our postulation. They don't expect to leave that place alive. This is a serious shift in their methods of operating, and I think that's why even our security forces have been caught a bit on the wrong side of this. And because we also know the building, it will take a bit of time for our Kenyan security forces to master how the building is configured, for them to ensure that there are as few casualties as possible when they storm the place to rescue the people inside the building. We
are receiving reports, though, that the terrorists inside could be, anywhere between 10 to 15. What is the best way, though, for Kenya security forces to deal with this?
It's going to be very difficult, and that is why I think looking at the emotions coupled with what is taking place, it's going to be very difficult for the Kenyan people to identify who these people are. Apart from what we've been told, they are wearing bandanas on the head. They are basically, they look like Kenyans. And what we suspect, most of them have actually taken over clothes from the Kenyan people or the people who are in that mall. And we suspect that in the initial stages of this operation, before the Kenyan forces started filtering and vetting the people who are leaving, there's a likelihood that a few of them decided to sneak out before the Kenyans started screening these people. So that is why I think it's going to be a bit difficult for our forces to be able to identify. Unless all of them decide to remain with the guns, it might be very difficult for them to identify who is a terrorist and who is a person who was caught in this building.
It's been 2 days now. Do Kenya security forces, though, have the capacity, the capabilities to deal with this situation, given the fact that on Saturday there were reports that it took between 5 to 10 minutes before the security forces responded, which is a very short time. I mean, that was after reporting by the security forces. But do they have the necessary capabilities to deal with this situation now?
As a developing country, I think we need to be very realistic. That as much as we say we are doing the best we can, our capacities cannot be measured with other countries that have undergone this kind of situation. And I think that is why, even if we don't want to come out openly that we are asking for assistance, then there's a likelihood that we are actually seeking assistance for us to be able to deal with this situation. And it takes a bit of time for people or friendly nations to come in and assist us to deal with this problem.
Briefly, where next for Kenya, though?
We should not give up. Kenya should not leave Somalia. That will be a defeatist attitude. We must fight terrorists. We must deal with them. We know they'll still come back. But as a nation and as a people, we should not surrender.
All right, Simiyu Warunga, Director, African Center for Security. Thank you very much for joining us here on Africa Live. Well, it has been described as the worst attack of terrorism on Kenyan soil since the 1998 U.S. Embassy bombing. Although security experts have long said the Westgate Mall made an attractive terrorist target, many are surprised at the magnitude of the attack, questioning how it could happen in an upscale shopping center in the middle of a Nairobi suburb. CCTV's Maria Galang takes a look at how the tragic attack unfolded.
Westgate Shopping Mall, the venue of the hostage situation, is one of the capital's premier shopping complexes, frequented by wealthy Kenyans and expatriates. The 6-year-old shopping centre, located in the suburb of Westlands, is near another popular mall, the Sarit Centre. Westgate sits on 350,000 square feet and houses more than 80 outlets that offer food, clothes and entertainment services. According to eyewitnesses, this was a 3-pronged assault. 3 squads of gunmen dashed into the mall from different entrances, opening fire. An African Union official says he was having coffee on the terrace of Art Cafe, a popular restaurant located on the ground floor, around noon, when he heard brakes of a car screech outside the cafe. 3 grenades then went off in about 30 seconds. He cowered on the floor and watched 8 gunmen with scarves twisted over their faces firing at shoppers. At the same time, another group drove up to the main parking entrance, fired at the security check guards and continued onto the rooftop parking, where a children's cooking competition was going on, firing indiscriminately with AK-47s. The third group, also in a vehicle, stopped near the main pedestrian entrance, fired at civilians in the area before proceeding into the mall. A shop manager who managed to escape said it appeared the shooters had taken control of the entire mall, with shoppers scrambling to hide in several parts around the complex, including the supermarket, the basement parking lot and the toilets. Others jumped over a fence on the mall's roof and landed on a neighboring building. Officials and witnesses said at least 5 attackers, including one woman, were involved in the bloodletting. They wore vests with hand grenades attached and carried AK-47s as they ran amok. One witness says he saw the gunmen take several hostages to a parking garage, where some were set free and others were killed in cold blood. Maria Galang, CCTV.
Well, the terror network Al-Shabaab has claimed responsibility for that attack in Nairobi. Let's get more on that now from our correspondent in Somalia, Mohammed Hirmoge and Natalie Freary in London. Mohammed, first to you. Al-Shabaab has claimed responsibility over that attack in Nairobi. First, what's the security situation, though, in Mogadishu in the wake of this latest terror attack in Nairobi?
Well, this has just been slightly over 2 weeks since the last twin suicide blasts that rocked the capital at a restaurant in central Mogadishu that's only less than 1 kilometer from the presidential palace, frequented by journalists and government officials, in which 18 people have been killed. But just as calm was returning to the city here in Mogadishu, there is that siege and attack on Saturday in Nairobi that has changed the mood over here. And the danger got even closer. About 1 hour ago, a gunman shot dead a Somali member of parliament in one of Mogadishu's 16 districts. They shot the member of parliament and flew the scene. The calm has been returning, yes, but with such kinds of attacks that are quite spontaneous, there is that aura of insecurity in the air right here in Mogadishu now.
All right, and Natalie, can you tell us, though, about the reaction from the United Kingdom? Several other governments have issued advisories there on the Kenyan situation.
Well, the Prime Minister, David Cameron, has condemned the attack as strongly, calling it sickening and despicable. Now, he said that the UK should be prepared for more bad news as, of course, the situation is ongoing. We know that 3 British nationals have died in this attack. He also, it was very quick to say that people that commit acts of terror in the name of religion do not represent religion at all. They represent simply violence and terror, and this is not a view that is the view of British Muslims or Muslims anywhere else. William Hague, the Foreign Secretary, has also spoken out against the attack, and he said that this will not hamper efforts to bring peace and stability to Somalia and to try to eradicate terrorism there. The leader of the Labour Party, Ed Miliband, that is the opposition party, has also condemned the attack and said they will help the British government's efforts to support Kenya in any way they can.
Mohammed, in Mogadishu, though, it seems that the Al-Shabaab, though, remains a little bit active, going by the situation in Kenya and the situation you have described there in Mogadishu. Are there fears of further attacks, and what's the security situation in the rest of the country?
Well, indeed, yes. There's some insecurity in also some other parts of the country. We understand today, in the early hours of Sunday, Al-Shabaab as well attacked the port town of Kismayo. We don't know the extent of the damage caused over there. We're still assessing the situation there, but looks like Al-Shabaab are making good their threats to escalate attacks. And we understand over the last 5 or 6 months they have escalated their operations not only in Mogadishu but also in other cities, including the north and the south, that is towards Juba regions. But we also understand in claiming responsibility yesterday, Al-Shabaab spokesman Ali Mohammed Rage has said that he has boys who are really prepared, and by prepared, of course, the message is that these are people who are ready to die. he's making good the promise that they will escalate these attacks, and he actually said that even though the Al-Shabaab have time and again sent, on numerous occasions actually warned the Kenyan government on the incursion into Somalia, as he puts it, he says they will continue attacking Kenya, and they will as well continue the attacks within the city. But say for those coordinated attacks, we also understand there are gunmen on the loose. As we understand, just 1 hour ago, a member of parliament was shot dead. The day before, a clan elder was shot dead. Therefore, we can understand these are people who are making the threats good to destabilize not only Somalia, but the region.
Natalie, there's condemnation from UK Prime Minister David Cameron there, but what support has David Cameron, though, pledged to help the efforts by the Kenyan government and also to help in efforts to fight terrorism?
Well, the rapid response team has been sent to Nairobi to help efforts, and COBRA, the emergency committee, has met both yesterday and today to try to formulate a plan to offer support. Extra consular services have also been sent to Nairobi to help any British nationals caught up in the attacks. They've gone to hospitals, and also they are close to the shopping centre. And the army has also sent food supplies to hospitals that are treating the wounded. The British High Commissioner there in Nairobi, in fact, among the many people donating blood to help those that have been injured in the attacks. And David Cameron has said that the UK is prepared to offer any intelligence support, any advice, any security help needed to help Kenya respond to this brutal attack, and as he puts it, to help Kenya in this dire hour of need.
All right, Natalie Freire joining us there from London, and Mohammed Hidmoga joining us from the Somali capital, Mogadishu. Thank you. Well, that hostage crisis continues. The siege continues into day 2. 59 people dead, 175 others wounded. There are still some hostages inside the Nairobi Westgate Mall. Well, now these are some of the images and sounds of the terror attack when it started on Saturday. And this video was taken inside the Nakumatt supermarket, inside that building, as the attackers entered the mall. Let's watch.
No, just stay this way. Don't go out.
All right, let's now bring you some other stories making the headlines at this hour. The South African police will be in the hot seat again at the Marikana Commission of Inquiry in Pretoria this week to explain why it failed to supply the commission with certain crucial documents which had earlier been requested. This follows the discovery of electronic documents which could assist the commission in understanding the police's role in last year's so-called Marikana massacre, which police gunned down 34 striking miners at the Lonmin Platinum Mine. CCTV's Renee Delcam has this report.
For me, that is crucial.
Commission spokesperson Tsepo Mahlangu said the documents, including video files, had been discovered by a team of the Commission's evidence leaders, who had examined the computer hard drives of members of the South African police. They had done so after a senior police officer had invited them to inspect his hard drive. Evidence leaders told the Commission that they'd uncovered information which they had not had access to before. Material which could have serious consequences for the work of the Commission.
We can't tell you what they found, except to say that
it's thousands of documents which the evidence leading team feel that or believe that these were documents that the police ought to have given them. The police reply was that those documents that evidence leaders were asking for did not even exist in the first place.
The Marikana Commission said in a statement that documents obtained by its evidence leaders showed that the police's version of events at Marikana was in material respects not the truth.
You know, this is just incredible. It's just impossible to believe that with all the bad publicity the police have been receiving even before Marikana and Marikana itself and after Marikana, that they would do something as ridiculous as this.
The Marikana Commission says the allegations made against the police are serious concerns which will be thoroughly investigated. But the Marikana Support Campaign, which represents the people of Marikana, says it has no doubt that the police had deliberately tried to mislead the Commission.
This has only confirmed the suspicions that people have had. They know that no minors charged the police that day. And now for the police to be caught red-handed, fabricating evidence in the words of the Commission, concealing evidence in the words of the Commission, misleading the Commission, a judicial commission of inquiry, they are more distrustful than ever that this Commission is going to be able to actually deliver the real truth and uncover the truth.
We want to believe that these are allegations, these are merely concerns. There may very well be a perfect explanation as to why it happened.
And the South African police will be given an opportunity to respond to those concerns when the Marikana Commission resumes on Wednesday. Renee Delcam, CCTV, Johannesburg.
And we leave it there for the moment on Africa Live as the battle continues at the Nairobi Westgate Mall, where 59 people have so far been confirmed dead, 175 injured, 1,000 people so far rescued from Nairobi's terror attack. The Al-Shabaab has claimed responsibility. Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta says the fight against terrorism will continue. We'll keep you updating on the developments as they unfold from Nairobi's capital. Well, that's it for us on this edition of Africa Live. Remember, you can stay in touch with Africa Live on Twitter using the handle at CCTV News Africa. You can also visit our Facebook page, CCTV Africa. Thanks for watching. I'm Beatrice Marshall in Nairobi. Up next, Faces of Africa.